people, it is a pleasure to be with you again. Today we will talk about the Mexican Revolution. And for this we will have two guests. But first I will give you a background about this. It was one of the most important changes in Mexico's history. The revolution lasted 7 years of blood and courage until people were heard. Many leaders helped this happen. One of the most famous was Emiliano Zapata, who fought for the lands and peasants. We are going to go deeper and talk about their daily life. They lived in very poor conditions. Peasants worked in tienda de raya and they got paid with essential things to live. Also, in politics, it was a disaster. At first, it was an attempt to overthrow Diaz, who ruled Mexico for 31 years. But then he promised to not re-elect in 1908, but in 1910 he does. Madero raised the people for an honest democracy and for no re-election. He was successful, and after his death, the struggle for power made the country divide. Emiliano Zapata and Pancho Villa supported Madero. They wanted a more equal distribution of lands. Economically speaking, Porfirio Diaz was doing as good as macroeconomic, and he had international relations and growing towards the outside. But there was inequality because there were very many rich foreign in Mexico who exploited Mexicans and lived in miserable conditions, and very few who owned a lot. Let's welcome our first guest, the Coronel Pedro Salazar. He was by the hand of Zapata seeking for peasants and land rights for all Mexicans. Welcome, Pedro Salazar.
Thank you very much, Jimena.
Please, take a seat.
Thank you.
First, tell us, how was your daily life in those times? What were your conditions?
I was born in Hacienda in Tlaxcala in 1898. I was raised by my parents and I lived in miserable conditions. I was exploited since I was 6 years old. I had to harvest all the cornfields for the hacendado. But I didn't know I was poor when I was little. It wasn't until my parents passed away when I wanted to leave the hacienda, and they told me I couldn't because I was in debt, because my parents were in debt, and I had to stay there to work until I could pay the debt. And that day would never come. It was just a way to exploit people there. And when they told me that, I wanted to do something, but I didn't know what to do because all the people just lived there and didn't mind about the getting away. So I just stayed there.
And what did you do when Emiliano Zapata was, when you knew that Emiliano Zapata was looking for a fair distribution of land?
Oh, well. I knew Emiliano Zapata, but I didn't know him as Emiliano Zapata. He came to our hacienda one day, and he told us that, I have quoted this from Emiliano Zapata. He told us to rise and fight for our land, for our country and for our sons. He said that if we joined him, we could die fighting for what we love, our land, instead of working it for other rich people. When he told me this, I said I would join him, of course, because I lived in poor conditions and I didn't like it. So I joined him, and it was until, well, the days passed when I knew he was Emiliano Zapata, and I know him as Emiliano Zapata. He told me that I was a man with courage and he could trust me. So we became friends and we fought together in every single battle. He saved my hope, so I could do anything for him.
Do you remember a certain day with him?
Of course I do. I still remember 28 November 1911, when Emiliano Zapata wrote Plan de Ayala. He told me that Madero had betrayed us. he had put Leon de la Barra as president, and he betrayed also our land promises for what our friends have died. Um, he told me that Plan de Ayala would not recognize Madero as president, and that the people who had who could prove they were stolen from their property would their lands and their water would be returned to them from the hacendados. And I told him that I would support him because I thought Plan de Ayala would really end with the revolution and gave us what we were fighting for.
And were you happy with the outcome of the revolution?
Oh, of course I was happy. I know that not all the demands were written down in the Constitution of 1917, thanks to Venustiano Carranza. But this constitution included rights like the 123 that established labor laws and protection for workers. This was one of my favorite demands. The Article 4 that has work freedoms, and the Article 27, which is my favorite, that talks about that the land distribution is a must for the state. Our demands were fulfilled, and the Constitution meant that not one single person would have all the power for Mexico. Constitution is the supreme power. And that our friends should have not died in vain.
Well, that's all. Thank you for coming.
Oh,
After having our first guest, we will have our second guest, his great-grandson, David Salazar. Please give a round of applause to him.
Thanks for having me, Simone.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Well, first of all, I would like you to see a video of the interview and please reflect about it.
Okay,
Here.
thank you. Wow, I didn't know my great-grandfather was that important.
Well, he is. And we want to know, what are your impressions about the video?
Well, indeed I was very surprised. I knew that my great-grandfather was a caudillo or a colonel, but I never knew that he lived in such conditions or knew about Plan de Ayala. Well, that's awesome.
If you have been your great-grandparent, have you done the same?
Maybe, well, because of the conditions in which he was living, I would. The lands weren't respected, and well, my great-grandfather was desperate for having a better life, and well, he wanted a change, just as Zapata.
And without knowing your great-grandfather was Zapatista, which side have you chosen?
Well, I would have still supported Zapata because the people living around him and his army, well, they wanted fair conditions for them, and well, they wanted a lot of things.
And without knowing that your great-grandfather was Zapatista, which side have you chosen? And why?
Well, I would have still supported Zapata because their people were living in very unfair conditions and they had many demands. But well, at the end, the Constitution established workers' rights and freedoms, so Carranza also contributed. But if I had to choose, I would be Zapatista also.
So, do you think that the outcome of the revolution satisfied everybody's demands?
Well, yes, but not completely because they had different ideas. Their demands must have adjusted to the ideas of the others. So they were satisfied, but not in the way both sides wanted. But at the end, well, all their necessities were written down in the Constitution. So that, fortunately, made this important conflict end.
Well, that's all of it, David. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you. It was a pleasure.